due to the nature of the entity, but not related to internal control. Now, what is control risk? Control risk is a risk that material misstatements will not be prevented, detected, or corrected by internal controls on a timely basis. What do we mean? Even though you have controls, but still more, there are material misstatements. Let's give an example of a school, right? Schools have a control. Fact, let me give an example of fact. For you to study at fact, you need to have a card. But there's a risk that even though a card is available as an internal control, people will still attend the class. That's how you can understand control risk. So even though you have good controls, material misstatements are still available. Even though you have got a password in your computer system, people can still access Wi-Fi, or people can still access your files. We can also put it simple to say control risk occurs when the company's controls are unable to detect or prevent inherent risks. So risk areas include maybe poor passwords in computer systems, lack of segregation of traders over cash, inadequate physical controls. You have locked doors, but maybe some of the drawers where you keep cash, they are not locked. Poor treasury management. Those are some of the issues. Then detection risk. So I've said detection risk is now the auditor's risk. When something goes wrong, the auditor can be sued. So remember, you are the audit manager. You have to get this risk corrected. So detection risk is a risk that the auditor's substantive procedures will be unable to detect and control an inherent risk. What we mean is that those procedures which are put in place will not identify the risk of fraud, will not identify the risk of errors, will not identify the risk of applying wrong standards. Okay. So, what are the auditor's substantive procedures? Inquiry, inspection, observation, recalculation, sometimes the performance, or sometimes sampling. So these are the issues that can cause the auditor to fail to detect, control, and inherent risk. So what are the causes of detection risk? Could be inadequate audit planning. If you don't plan your audit adequately, you will miss out. 2, first company audit. If you are auditing the company for the first time, inherent risk. So in the exam, once you see a question says, it's the first time for us to audit, what should come in your mind is what? Inherent risk. Use of long samples. So you have used smaller samples instead of bigger samples. So you are auditing a company which has got over 1,000 employees, then you have only sampled 2 employees. Or a company has got 10,000 invoices, you have only sampled 10 invoices. It means you make a wrong judgment. Assignment of less experienced audit team members. So you have just hired graduates as audit staff to be dealing with maybe cash or foreign currency. As an auditor, how can you reduce audit detection risk? You should have better planning. So plan, have the right staff, understand the entity thoroughly, document your work, calculate materiality levels, and so on and so forth. So assign more experienced staff, have a stronger professional skepticism, which is an attitude of questioning mind, more persuasive audit evidence. So look for audit evidence that you're using should be reliable. Don't just base on inquiry, but go for recalculations, inspections, observations. Then larger or better targeted samples. So go for samples which are larger enough, and you should go for supervision and review. So once work has been conducted, it should be supervised and reviewed. Now, the moment you have identified the audit risk inherent control and detection. We need to group the risk into those which are significant and those which are insignificant. Significant, it means those risks which need special auditors' attention. Why? Because they are very complicated or because of their nature. For example, let's look at this risk below. So this risk, if you see these risks, after you are asked in the exam to say identify all these risks. Now if you see these risks, you should classify them as significant. For example, fraud and creative accounting, related party transactions, unusual transactions. From nowhere somebody has deposited a check of $20,000. That's an unusual transaction. The complexity of the transaction. So very complicated transaction. For example, financial instruments transaction, leading to impairment. Relationship with recent economic, accounting, or other developments. Management overriding controls. You see that management is not is always overriding the controls. They're not following the controls. Impairment of goodwill, for instance, inventory obsolescence, provision and contingencies, fair value changes, complex groups or group accounts, all these issues. So the moment you see you have identified the audit risk, you need to conclude to say, based on my risk assessment, these risks are significant. Take note of that. But at this level, we cannot identify all the risks. We haven't started learning accounting standards. But we now need the knowledge so that when we start identifying, you should remember what we have said. Why significant risk matters? So they matter because of senior involvement. You know, these areas will require senior involvement, like the audit partner to be involved, or even those charged with governance. They will need more evidence, and finally, need more focused audit procedures. They will need audit procedures which are much focused, like recalculation and the performance. Okay, so for today, we should stop here. Next time we'll continue looking at the areas which affect audit risk, like fraud, creative accounting, and internal controls. Then we will now move on to the fourth step, which is materiality.